Somewhere in Africa, about 300,000 years ago, a creature appeared that would eventually build the Eiffel Tower, write Shakespeare, compose Beethoven, land on the moon, and also spend 4 hours a day scrolling through short videos of strangers dancing. That creature is you. This is episode 1 of the story of how that happened. How a small, frightened, nearly extinct group of African primates with no claws, no armor, no venom, and honestly terrible running speed, somehow ended up owning the entire planet. Buckle up. It's a long story. Literally, we're doing it in 2 parts. Let's start with an uncomfortable truth. You share 98.7% of your DNA with a chimpanzee. That's closer than a Bengal tiger is to a Siberian tiger. So next time you feel superior looking at a chimp at the zoo, just know he's looking back at you with the exact same level of confusion. Now, about 6 to 7 million years ago, somewhere in the forests of Central Africa, the family tree split. One branch stayed as chimps and gorillas. They chose peace, bananas, and the simple life. The other branch got ambitious, dangerously ambitious. That ambitious branch produced a creature called Australopithecus, which means southern ape. Not the most inspiring name for the ancestor of the species that would one day build the Burj Khalifa. Australopithecus walked upright on 2 legs. This was a massive deal. Why? Because walking upright freed the hands. Free hands meant carrying tools, carrying food, carrying babies, and eventually carrying a smartphone with 47 unread notifications. But here's the humbling part. Their brain was roughly the size of a large orange, 400 to 500 cubic centimeters. For context, your brain is about 1,400 cubic centimeters, 3 times bigger. And yet, look at Twitter, look at comment sections, look at flat earth forums. Makes you wonder what we're doing with all that extra space. Australopithecus lived for over 3 million years. 3 million years. The entire recorded human history is only about 5,000 years. These guys survived for 3 million years with an orange-sized brain, no fire, no tools, no Zomato delivery. Meanwhile, we can't survive a 2-hour flight without Wi-Fi. Around 2.4 million years ago, the first real upgrade arrived, Homo habilis. Habilis means handyman. Finally, a name with some dignity. Homo habilis did something revolutionary. They picked up rocks and deliberately shaped them into tools. Sharp edges for cutting meat, blunt ends for crushing bones to get at the nutritious marrow inside. This was technology version 0.1. The world's first product launch. No press conference, no Steve Jobs in a black turtleneck, no one more thing. Just a hairy hominid smashing rocks together and accidentally inventing the knife. And what did they do with this technology? They ate better. Better food meant more calories. More calories meant a bigger brain could be supported. A bigger brain meant better tools. Better tools meant more food. The original viral growth loop, 2.4 million years before Silicon Valley tried to take credit for it. But here's something that often gets ignored. Homo habilis wasn't alone. At the same time, multiple species of early humans existed simultaneously. It wasn't a neat single line of evolution. It was more like a messy group project where everyone had different ideas and most of them went extinct. Only one team survived to the final round. Spoiler, it's us. But we'll get to that. Meet Homo erectus, quite possibly the most underrated character in the entire human story. While Australopithecus was perfectly content staying in Africa eating berries and avoiding lions, Homo erectus looked at the horizon and thought something that no creature on Earth had ever thought before. What's over there? That single curiosity, that deeply inconvenient, expensive, and exhausting desire to know what's on the other side, is arguably the most human thing that has ever existed. It's the same instinct that sent Columbus across the Atlantic, Armstrong to the moon, and you at 1 a.m., clicking just one more episode. Around 1.8 to 2 million years ago, Homo erectus became the first human species to leave Africa. No map, no compass, no travel insurance, no visa on arrival, just legs, instinct, and an absolute refusal to stay comfortable. They walked north through what is now Ethiopia and Egypt, crossed into the Middle East, and then split, some heading east into Asia, some continuing west toward Europe. Fossils of Homo erectus have been found in Georgia, China, Indonesia, and Spain. This wasn't a quick weekend trip. This migration happened over hundreds of thousands of years, generation after generation, each one moving slightly further than the last. Think about that. No single individual decided to conquer Asia. It happened one campfire at a time, one valley at a time, one generation saying to the next, "We came from over there, but there's something interesting over here." The world's longest, slowest road trip. No Spotify playlist, no rest stops, just survival. But the real game changer wasn't the migration itself. It was what Homo erectus learned to control: fire. The evidence suggests Homo erectus was using fire by at least 1 million years ago, possibly earlier. And this wasn't just appreciation for pretty flames. This was deliberate, controlled use of fire for warmth, protection, and most importantly, cooking. Now, cooking might sound like a lifestyle upgrade, a nice to have, a master chef moment. But it was actually a biological revolution. Raw food takes enormous energy to digest. Cooking breaks down the tough fibers, kills parasites, and makes calories far more accessible. Suddenly, the body didn't need to spend all its energy on digestion. It could redirect that energy upward to the brain. Cooking literally made us smarter. So the next time someone says cooking is a waste of time, tell them evolution disagrees. The brain you're using to scroll social media? Funded by 1 million years of someone standing over a fire making dinner. You're welcome. Fire also extended the day. Before fire, when the sun went down, everything stopped. Darkness meant predators, cold, death. Fire pushed back the night, and in those extra hours around the campfire, warm, safe, full of cooked food, something new emerged: social bonding, storytelling, language. The campfire wasn't just a heat source. It was the world's first living room, the world's first podcast studio, the world's first group therapy session. Essentially, Homo erectus invented the group chat. And like all group chats, it eventually got out of control. Homo erectus survived for nearly 2 million years, longer than any other human species. They spread across 3 continents, and then slowly they were replaced, not by catastrophe, but by the next upgrade. A species that was smarter, more adaptable, more socially complex. Us. But first, the brain needs to get bigger, much bigger. Around 300,000 years ago, somewhere in Africa, a new model launched. No press conference, no pre-order queue stretching around the block, no Elon Musk tweet, just a gradual, quiet biological shift. A brain that was slightly larger, slightly more complex, slightly better connected internally. Homo sapiens, us. Now, physically, we weren't impressive. Compared to Homo erectus, shorter, weaker, less experienced. Compared to Neanderthals, far less muscular, worse at handling cold, smaller boned. If prehistoric Earth had a gym, Homo sapiens would be the skinny new member nervously looking at the equipment while Neanderthals were already benching mammoths. And yet, we won. Not because of physical strength, because of something far more powerful, far more dangerous, and far more chaotic. The ability to think about things that don't exist. Let that sink in for a moment. Every other animal on Earth thinks about things that are real and present. Food in front of them, predator nearby, mate available, immediate, concrete, physical reality. Homo sapiens, for the first time in the history of life on this planet, could think about things that are completely imaginary. Gods, nations, money, human rights, justice, democracy, brand loyalty, celebrity gossip. None of these things exist in nature. You cannot find a forest where trees believe in capitalism. You cannot find an ocean where fish respect international borders. These are stories, shared fictions, that exist only because enough humans agreed to believe in them. And this ability to share fictional beliefs is the single most powerful tool in the history of life on Earth. Because here's the thing. A chimpanzee group can have maybe 50 members before it collapses into chaos. You cannot convince 10,000 chimpanzees to cooperate toward a shared goal. You cannot motivate 1 million chimps by telling them they'll go to heaven if they follow the rules. But humans can coordinate in millions, billions, across continents, across centuries, all based on shared stories. That's how you build a pyramid. That's how you build a nation. That's how you get 3 billion people to open the same app every day and argue with strangers. Homo sapiens didn't just get a bigger brain, we got fiction software, and it changed everything. The evidence of this cognitive revolution shows up in the archaeological record around 70,000 to 100,000 years ago. Suddenly, cave paintings, not just scratches, actual art, animals rendered in beautiful detail, handprints, abstract symbols. People were not just surviving, they were expressing, which when you think about it, is a deeply impractical use of time when a lion might eat you. And yet here we are, the descendants of creatures who, facing extinction-level threats, decided to stop for a moment and paint a horse on a cave wall. Artists have always been ridiculous, even 70,000 years ago. Then came the bone flute, found in Slovenia, dated to around 60,000 years ago. Someone took a vulture's wing bone, carefully carved holes in it at precise intervals, and made a musical instrument. Think about that. In a world of constant survival pressure, with no food security, no shelter guarantee, no medical system, someone decided the world needed music. That person is my favorite human ancestor, absolute legend. But the most powerful cognitive development wasn't art, wasn't music, it was language, not just communication. And every animal communicates, but complex, recursive, open-ended language. The ability to say not just danger, lion, run, but yesterday, 2 valleys east, near the big dead tree, there was a lion. It looked young, probably from the Northern Pride. Last season, they came through here twice. We should avoid that route for the next few weeks. That sentence contains past tense, geography, inference, pattern recognition, prediction, and collaborative planning. No other animal on Earth can do that. Language meant knowledge could be accumulated across generations. One person discovers that a certain root is poisonous. They tell others. And suddenly the entire tribe knows forever. No one has to rediscover it by dying. This is called cumulative culture, and it is the reason we have modern medicine, engineering, science, and also, unfortunately, reality television. Every piece of knowledge you have was given to you by someone else, Every skill, every word, every concept, borrowed from the accumulated experience of thousands of generations before you. You are, in the most literal sense, standing on the shoulders of giants. Giants who, for the record, had significantly worse dental hygiene. So by around 100,000 years ago, Homo sapiens had all the tools: big brain, complex language, abstract thinking, art and culture, cooperation at scale, fire, inherited from Homo erectus. Thank you very much. We were loaded, primed, ready. And then, just when everything seemed to be going well, the Earth decided to remind us who was actually in charge. Around 74,000 years ago, on the island of what is now Sumatra, Indonesia, a supervolcano called Toba erupted. And when I say erupted, I don't mean the gentle, picturesque, Instagram-worthy kind of eruption. I mean the kind where the sky turns black for 6 years. 6 years of volcanic winter. Temperatures dropped by 10 to 15 degrees globally. Forests died. Animals starved. Entire ecosystems collapsed. It was, by any reasonable measure, the single worst thing that had happened on Earth since the asteroid that killed the dinosaurs. The genetic evidence is brutal. Human population crashed. Some estimates suggest we dropped to as few as 3,000 to 10,000 individuals worldwide. To put that in perspective, that's smaller than the crowd at a mid-sized cricket match. That's the entire human species, reduced to a group that today wouldn't even qualify as a viral moment on social media. We were, by any scientific definition, on the edge of extinction. And yet, here you are, the direct biological descendant of whoever survived those 6 years of darkness. Every single human being alive today, all 8 billion of us, descended from that tiny, desperate, freezing group of survivors who refused to disappear. That's one of the greatest comebacks in the 4 billion year history of life on this planet. Your ancestors were harder than you think. Considerably harder than you think. Remember that next time you complain about the Wi-Fi. Then around 70,000 years ago, a small group, maybe just a few hundred individuals, walked north out of Africa. Not with a plan, not with a destination, but following the coast, following the animals, following the drive to find something better than what was behind them. This was the out of Africa migration, the single most consequential journey in human history. They moved into South Asia, into India. So technically, the first humans to reach what is now India arrived about 65,000 years ago. This is a scientifically supported fact that approximately 1.4 billion people will find very satisfying to hear. You're welcome. From South Asia, the migration exploded in multiple directions. Around 50,000 years ago, humans reached Australia. To get there required crossing at least 90 kilometers of open ocean, with no GPS, no navigation tools, just handmade boats, stars, and an extraordinary amount of stubbornness. Columbus crossed the Atlantic in 1492 and got a national holiday. These unknown humans crossed open ocean 50,000 years earlier in Stone Age boats, and nobody even knows their names. History is deeply unfair sometimes. Around 45,000 years ago, Homo sapiens entered Europe. Europe was not empty. Neanderthals had been there for 400,000 years. They had home advantage. Within 5,000 years of our arrival, they were gone. What happened? That's part 2. Around 40,000 years ago, humans pushed into Siberia, and there, they found a land bridge connecting to what is now Alaska. They crossed it into 2 vast continents that no human had ever set foot on. The Americas, teeming with mammoths, giant ground sloths, saber-toothed cats, none of whom had ever seen a human being before. They had absolutely no idea what was coming. And finally, the Pacific Islands. Around 3,000 to 1,000 years ago, the Austronesian peoples sailed across the open Pacific in outrigger canoes, using memorized star charts and ocean currents, reaching Hawaii, New Zealand, and Easter Island. By the time Europeans were nervously hugging coastlines in large ships, these navigators had already mapped the largest ocean on Earth. I use Google Maps to navigate to a restaurant I've been to 12 times. The contrast is not flattering. So by around 1,000 years ago, Homo sapiens had reached every habitable corner of the Earth, from near extinction to everywhere, in just 74,000 years. That's not a species, that's a force of nature. In part 2, we find out what really happened to the Neanderthals, why farming might have been the worst decision in human history, and the one fact about your own existence that will make you stare at the ceiling tonight. Subscribe to TechSync so you don't miss it. See you in part 2.